Hello, I'm Patricia Brown Holmes, President of the Chicago Bar Association, and I'm here with our guest, Alistair MacDonald, Chairman of the Bar of England and Wales. Alistair, can you please explain to us what that means,
Yeah.
Chairman of the Bar?
Yes. Well, strictly it's Chairman of the Bar Council of England and Wales, but more colloquially we call it Chairman of the Bar. So the Bar Council is an organisation that represents the bar itself. And what's very important to understand for your members is that in England and Wales there are two parallel professions. There are solicitors who do essentially case preparation, and there are barristers who do the advocacy in court. In essence, that's the traditional distinction between the two. And so the Bar Council is the representative body of barristers in England and Wales. So the Bar Council comprises chairman and vice chairman, treasurer and so on, chief executive. But we also have representatives of the specialist bar associations, so things like the Commercial Bar Association, the Chancery Bar Association, and all the different strands that go to make up the bar as a whole in England and Wales. The Young Bar, who are very important obviously, we have their interests very much at heart. And so that group comes together about 7 times a year, and decisions are taken by that body about the way forward. In addition to that, there are lots of committees that deal with important issues. The International Committee deals with international relations, the Young Barristers Committee deals with the Young Bar, Bar deals with the Commercial Bar, and so all these different committees work towards producing documents, reports, material that's of use in our representative function.
Fantastic. Sounds very similar to the bar here in the United States. We do a lot of what we call pro bono work.
Yes.
Does the bar in England and Wales do the same?
Yes, we do. We have a bar pro bono unit, which is staffed by quite a number of people, and so we do a lot of pro bono work. And in addition to that, many chambers do pro bono work off their own bat, rather less formally than through the pro bono unit. But many barristers are signed up to the pro bono unit and do work for them. It's become increasingly important in England and Wales because our legal aid system, which used to be quite extensive, has in the last few years been heavily reduced, and therefore there is a greater need for pro bono work. And unfortunately, the pro bono unit can't make up for the lack of legal aid, but what it can do is help people who are in dire straits.
That's fantastic. Does your bar have any involvement in community activities, such as the bar partnering with community organizations?
Yeah, in particular, we have a lot of educational outreach. And so, for instance, we have in various cities around the UK, England and Wales, that is, we have what are called placement weeks, where young people from what we call non-traditional barrister backgrounds,
Okay.
in other words, schools from areas that are not particularly well resourced,
Okay.
are selected and come to have a week in chambers, and then they do mock trials and things of that sort.
Oh, fantastic.
We have a national mock trial competition where children from state schools, that's state-funded schools, also do a mock trial competition, and the final is held at the, last year it was the Court of Session in Edinburgh.
Oh, nice.
Next year it's the Old Bailey in London, and it has been at the Royal Courts of Justice and other places such as that, and in Northern Ireland. So it's really important to get young people involved so that they understand what the law is all about. And there's nothing quite like actually doing it to give you a better understanding of what it's about.
That's fantastic. We have organizations like Just the Beginning Foundation,
Yes.
which we call pipeline organizations,
Yes.
designed to bring young children
Yes.
into, give them a nice interest in the law.
Yes.
Would you have something similar to that?
Yes, we work with organisations who do exactly that. So organisations like the Citizenship Foundation, who, as the name would suggest, are there to try and assist young people into understanding more about their civic responsibilities and duties. We work with them on a regular basis to provide that sort of help. We also have a lot of barristers who go into schools and give talks about the bar.
Oh, wonderful.
Because I don't know about the United States, but in Britain the law is seen to some extent, in some places, as a bit of a sort of unattainable goal for children who are not from wealthy backgrounds and things of that sort.
Very similar here.
So it's terribly important to widen the diversity in our profession, I think,
I agree.
and to make it more representative of the society which, after all, it serves.
Fantastic. We at the Chicago Bar like to partner with our sister bars across the world.
Yes.
Do you partner with bar associations from other countries, and
Yeah.
what can we
Yeah.
do to work together?
I think there's an awful lot we can do together because we do partner bar associations all around the world in a more informal way, in the sense that we meet them at meetings such as the ABA meeting, which is just starting today.
Right.
I was at the Australian Bar Association conference in Boston, funnily enough,
Oh, nice.
about 3 weeks ago, which was a delightful thing. But the point I'm making is that I think the more you meet bar leaders from around the world, the more you realise that the problems that we all face are more similar than there are differences
I
between
agree.
us. And I think in particular, in the UK certainly, we're still in the grip of an austerity programme, and therefore there is this tension between the provision of access to justice for people who just frankly don't have the resources to pay for justice themselves or for representation themselves. How is that to be addressed? How is that gap to be addressed? And I imagine that you have similar problems. Well, I know you
do.
have
We
from speaking
absolutely
to
do.
William Hubbard and other people
Yes.
before. And the Australians have it. You know, all around the world, wherever you go, you find that this is a problem that afflicts every developed country.
And maybe we can work together to resolve some of these
Exactly,
issues.
exactly. And there are issues such as alternative business structures, for example. You know, the involvement of non-lawyers in lawyer professional entities. And we can learn an awful lot from each other, because I know the ABA has been very strong in
Right.
looking at all this.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Mhm.
We are experiencing some issues in the United States with online legal services
Yes,
that aren't necessarily supported by lawyers,
Mm.
and non-lawyer organizations taking over lawyer functions. Is that an issue in England and Wales?
It's becoming an issue. It's not as big an issue, I think, as it is yet as it is in the United States. But one thing, I mean, it's a trite observation that what happens in the United States very often happens in other countries just a few years down the line. So that's a very good example of how we can work together,
Good.
because your experience is ahead of ours, and therefore we can learn so much by your experience that you know, when you first have these problems to deal with, they're difficult problems to deal with because you've got no experience of them. And so it's very useful to be able to share experiences between the bars across the world, I think,
Well,
to talk about issues like this.
Maybe we'll have to plan a seminar or
Absolutely, that would be
a
excellent.
conference
Yeah.
and bring up some issues that we've addressed
Yes.
that will be coming your way
Yes.
soon.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
And,
exactly.
and maybe we can fashion some results.
That would be excellent. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that not only do we have experience of contact with bars in developed countries, I mean in very well developed legal systems like the United States, Australia, places like that, but we also have relations with bars in areas where there are real problems in even having a legal system at all.
Wow. Yeah.
That
That is an issue.
Yeah, some of the places in Africa, and we have just signed a memorandum of agreement with an organisation called the British Council, which is an organisation which provides a lot of cultural and other support all around the world.
Fantastic.
And so, in the same way that I know the ABA has a very, very extensive rule of law programme,
Yes.
which is supported, I think, by the State Department,
Right.
we too want to, because the British Council, it's not a government organisation, but it's linked, it has strong
Right.
links to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and also to the Department for International Development.
Right.
And so we want to be able to tap into that side of things so that we can help developing countries. For example, regulation is very important.
It
You know,
is.
developing the legal profession
It is.
in these countries and finding a way of regulating lawyers which works for both parties, the public interest and also for the legal profession.
We participate in a program called Lawyers Without Borders.
Yes.
In fact, next week,
Yes.
or all of this week and next week,
Yes.
we have people who are going out to Nairobi, Kenya to work with their
Right,
government.
yeah.
It sounds like a very similar program.
Sounds like a very similar program, I agree. And it's all to the good if we can share experiences. And I think the other point to make is that you can learn from places where they are developing their legal systems
Yes.
as well.
Yes, yes.
Because in a lot of those
Exciting.
countries, they've got what you might call indigenous systems that have grown up. to deal with these things. And, you know, we have a lot. You shouldn't think, I think, and I know I'm sure you don't. We shouldn't think
Right.
that we're there to teach.
Exactly.
We're there to help.
Exactly.
But we can learn an awful lot from the way people do things themselves with
And that's
systems that have
exactly-
grown up in their own countries.
And that's exactly right.
So that's why I think it's a very beneficial cultural two-way process.
Well, I am very happy that you came and that you're talking to our viewers. And we appreciate your time. And I think we're going to have a great time at that World City Bar Leaders event that's coming up.
I'm sure we are.
Thank you so much for
It's been a delight to speak to you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to more discussion.
Thank you.